So these are items that most people don't assume carries a value just because of what they are used for. Hey, it's Don. Today we're going to talk about something that many people walk by, something that most people do not assume carries any real type of value. Now, this is what most people think of when I talk about pin cushions. Believe it or not, some of these kind, which we'll show you in just a few minutes here, can still be worth some money. But what you're really looking for are figural ones like this little shoe here. Now, there's tons of different styles, constructions, and makes of pin cushions. You will be surprised at the wide variety of items that are tied to pin cushions. These are items that you can literally find in a sewing box, on an estate sale, garage sale, inside of a flea market, even at an antique mall. I've pulled some very good ones out. In some cases, it will be missing the pin cushion part and will just look like a metal shoe, a dog, or something like that. Those are the ones that I can really rake out on because most people don't realize what it is when they're looking at it, or especially when they're pricing it. Most of the time I can pay just a couple of bucks at most for even some very expensive pin cushions. Let's show you some of the different styles you need to look for if you want to make some real good money on these as well. Now, the most common type of pin cushion that you run into, at least the ones that I do, are either the shoes or ones that look like some form of animal. Pretty much any animal you can think of, they've turned it into a pin cushion. Even vehicles, cars, boats, ships, all sorts of different things. There's comical ones, there's advertising ones. This is a silver one. This is a very early one as well for this type of item. In US dollars, it sold for almost $2,000. Now, this is the top end, and this one sold for so much because of who made it. Again, sometimes you may run into them where the cushion part is gone. Some people may confuse them with toothpick holders or damaged items or part of something else as well. Now, most of the time, these could be listed in several different categories. Antique sewing, depending on the age. Under antiques, there's a collectible sewing section, sterling sewing section, mid-mod century for some of the more mod mid-century ones. Animal section, of course, under collectibles for a frog, amphibian. So there's many different areas. Most of these have cross-category interests, meaning that there would be many different types of people who would collect them for various different reasons. The more people that would be interested, at least the more types of categories this would be relevant to, the more it would sell for most of the time. Now, dogs are very popular because, again, you can sell them in different categories. If it's a specific type of dog, like a bulldog here, there are collectors who just buy anything bulldog. They've got many bulldogs, so it is their area. So there are many different types of collectors who will buy this. Of course, the pin cushion collector also. There are people that just collect pin cushions and have hundreds of them on shelves. So this is something that I do find more often than not at a estate sale or an antique auction. Here's a pig, a swine, as you would say. Again, this could be sold in the pig section under collectibles, sewing section under antiques, sewing section under collectibles, sterling or silver-plated sections in other categories as well. You can see the price very easily, almost $400. Now, just like I showed you, shoes are extremely common. They go way back. Some can be sterling, silver plate, chromed, brass, copper, even porcelain and pottery versions of these can be found as well. Now, here's a donkey. Now, in some cases, these will be pulling a cart. You'll see a little cart in the back, and it may have, say, a thimble holder on the back. Sometimes the top part, it might be a person, and the hat is meant to hold a thimble as well. So sometimes these were dual-purpose items. This one you can see sold for $265. These are very small. They're not something huge. They were meant to sit in a sewing box as well. Now, I just did a video talking about World's Fair and exposition items. This is the same buffalo that I showed in that video. If you're interested, take a look back at that video from just a day or two ago. This is the exact same thing. It's a buffalo, a bison, and it's from the Pan American Exposition. Valuable item. If you didn't realize that, you may just be selling it as a pincushion, and in some cases the value could be less. The condition of this one isn't nice. It's not silver. It's got a lot of dark patina on it. It's been through the mill a little bit here. It's lost some of the surface finish on it, but still $175. It's still a nice historical item without a doubt. Now, as I said, pottery and porcelain ones go just as well. Just another example. Any of the ones we've showed you in brass and metal and sterling you can find in pottery or porcelain ceramics as well. Now, they don't have to be old to carry a value. This is a strawberry shortcake version with a thimble that matches it. Typical example of what you would see. I've seen them for turtles. I've even seen some for Star Wars. Thimbles and pincushions and things for just so many different types of characters. This is a fine example as well. $110. Now, another area that many people miss are these pincushion dolls. It's just the top part, and we'll show you some other examples here. Now, many of the times it'll have a ball at the bottom, which will be kind of in the shape of a dress, and those are the pincushion parts. Now, these can go way back and can be made by very famous, well-known potters, ceramicists as well. They can be worth a lot of money, not even as a pincushion, but just as the ceramic part itself. Many times I may run into them just like this on a shelf somewhere loose in a box, and people assume that it's just part of a doll itself. But the holes in it, the markings, the construction, the style, tells you that this, again, is a pincushion doll. There is a hole through it so you can stitch it into the pincushion so it won't come apart. So if you didn't know what this was, you could be passing by these, but you need to put pincushion in the title regardless to draw the people in. Now, in some cases, I run into them where they have been mounted on a piece of wood for display purposes. The doll part, the pincushion part, is long since gone, and this is all that's left. So don't just be looking for something that literally looks like a pincushion, because you'd be missing out on this. These can be confused with modern day items if the stand is new. So if you don't know what you're looking at, you don't realize that the holes in the bottom are to mount it to something, you may be missing something right off the bat. Now, one of my most favorite missed pincushions out there are these. They're described as primitive, folk art, Amish puzzles in the works. Now, the biggest place to find these is not in sewing. Most of the time, people confuse these up with Christmas ornaments. And I'm going to show you a few individual ones to give you an idea on why in just a minute here. But most of the time, these could be also found in cat and toys in general. People may not realize what these are. I've even seen them described as hacky sacks in the past as well. These go for a couple $100 right off the bat. Individual ones, if they're nice, well-designed, well-constructed, can go for a couple $100 also. Velvet ones, for example, are highly sought after, especially if it's vintage, original, authentic, early ones. They're primitive, they're handmade most of the time. This does look like a vintage Christmas ornament with some danglies hanging down from the bottom. It is what you might find in a Christmas tree ornament lot box, and I have found them as well. There are many types of pincushions that can turn up in Christmas tree assortments. Now, here's another one that does resemble a Christmas tree ornament also, but that is not what this is. The silk ones, the velvet ones, usually, as I said, are described wrong as an ornament, a decoration, or something along that line. Over $100 for this one also. Now, delving into that just a little more, these are missed far more than any of the other ones. Now, sometimes these will be filled with wax or pumice or sand. They were used to clean the needles. So if you've got a pin or a needle or something and you've used it, it sometimes can have gunk on it. Sometimes it can be dulled down from using it over and over again, and these will help sharpen it. Many times these will actually be mounted to the tomato that I showed you in the beginning of the video. It'll be dangling from it, so you'll have a two-part piece. Now, many times you will find fruit similar to this, not necessarily strawberries, but all different types of fruit that have been turned into pincushions. Those are some of the ones I run into the most, and some of the ones that are usually the cheapest to buy. Pretty much these can be found all over the place, but the biggest place I found them are local live auctions, antique malls, and estate sales. Now, here's an example of a pear pincushion. Any type of fruit you can imagine. I've seen bananas. These are actually supposed to be tomatoes. You can see the leaf at the top as well. So pincushions have been made out of something figural for a very, very long time. They're still out there. You've got to realize what you have. Many times people might think this is a dog toy. Again, a decoration. Now here's another example, another piece of folk art. This is also confused with Christmas ornaments, turtle doves and things like that, but these are pincushions. You can usually feel it. There's usually sawdust inside, pumice sometimes, straw I've even seen crunched up and stuffed inside of these. $181 for this one. Again, you will see these listed as Christmas ornaments left and right all across the place. Now here's another style that you'll run into from the Victorian era. Very well beaded, ornamented. Sometimes it has metallic wire and thread all across it. Many times people will describe these as Native American pieces because of some similar looking items. But these are also something that can be described as Christmas ornaments. Now here's a prime example of an advertising piece. Whenever I see something like this, the first thing that comes to mind is a pincushion. It depends on what's inside of it. If it's stuffed with straw or sawdust or pumice or sand or something, it's going to be a pincushion most all of the time. These are giveaway items. Kids would play with them. Sometimes I find them in toy assortments, these types of items. People will assume it's a miniature for a dollhouse, but that's usually not the case. Usually it's an advertising piece that someone would be using on a constant basis. It's a good example here, $103. Now, one last example which many people aren't aware was tied to pincushions are these sewing birds. Now, this was made to be clamped onto something, a chair, a table, while the lady of the house was stitching. Some of them have pincushions mounted on them like this one here. This one has two. The bird's mouth also is meant to clamp. It's a spring-loaded clamp of sorts. So it can be used to hold things while you're stitching and sewing, holding thread, needles. Some of these have places where you can actually mount spools of thread around in a circular means. There are all different types of these birds. Sometimes they're called flying sewing birds or flying birds or mounting birds or any of that sort of stuff. But these can go for hundreds of dollars if you find the right one. It's made to clamp. You just turn that bottom and it will tighten up and clamp to whatever you want. Sometimes these are dirty, sometimes they're broken. Most of the time I run into them, the pincushion part is damaged, destroyed, or just gone. There's many other items too that I'm not showing today that are also pincushions. Keep your eye open. Think about things outside the box when you run into them. It may not be what you think it is. Well, there we have it. Hopefully that gave you some ideas, some thoughts. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button down below. You can also hit the bell icon to be notified if I post new content or go live. Subscribe and tell all your friends.
Looking for good flavor in sugarless gum. We're looking for a new kind of sugarless gum that's carefree. Good tasting sugarless gum that's carefree. If you want a sugarless, come to Carefree. Carefree is sugarless. Sugarless is carefree. You know about sugarless, come to Carefree. Carefree is sugarless. Sugarless is carefree. For you and those people who care, there's carefree. Peppermint, spearmint, cinnamon, fruit, that's carefree. We found good flavor in sugarless gum with carefree. Chew carefree, it's sugarless. Chew carefree, it's good.
Chew the sugarless gum that really tastes good. Chew Carefree from Beech Nut.